Wyland is excused. Zagami?
Jamie's online.
Oh, she is.
Oh, she did get online? Okay. Okay. Jamie, you can hear us? Jamie, you can hear us? She on mute? Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. Public comments. Jim? I've got one here from Mr. Pinasol.
Jim Pensinel, 502 Arrow Street. Just had a couple comments here. One, I'm super thrilled to see that voting is returning here. If I interpreted the agenda correctly, I think this is where the municipal center is where it belongs. Dale has done a really great job for us here in the past, but I'd love to see it here. And then as far as the municipal center project, who's the project manager? John? Maybe that's something to answer later on here. But then who, again, I'm not permitted to ask these questions, but perhaps this will prompt some communication or maybe these questions can be echoed by the board later if they so desire. But who looks at and signs off on some of these stuff and says the project is good? I'm sure there's some paintwork to get done yet, but how it sits right now in the hallway, it doesn't look all that real good. So if it's not done yet, then I completely understand, but hopefully we're not signing off and signing a check for the performance that's there. And then finally, on the salt shed, a couple of questions maybe that could come up in the conversation is how has it been working so far with using the existing salt shed? Because we've had some snow events, we've had some salt moving around. And just want to comment that I'm very happy that we decided to explore the fabric tent option. It's unfortunate that was never discussed in the first place. Private companies use them, other municipalities do too, and just using our money wisely. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Because it won't come back up is who is the project? Is it John? Who's actually?
Architect is the contact with the contractor. Architect reports to the village.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the first point of contact, but Michael and I have been working cooperatively on this whole thing, so both heavily involved in all our discussions. Trustees Agami.
Also trustees Agami meets on the Tuesday meetings too. Yep.
Not done with the punch list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that
Done.
there is scheduled payment held. And I don't know if we have an ETA on that final punch list or not.
Should have it by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's why I believe only certain parts of the building are open at the current time, so. What was,
The potential was that we would have more security in this building.
Right.
So essentially the entry into the stairwell and then into the clerk's reception area there at that desk would be as far as people would go without a
Right.
appointment.
right, and the salt shed is on the
Or into
agenda.
this room when we have meetings.
Okay. Good. And I think the voting returning here is on the agenda also, so. We don't have a liquor license, but other than that, you know, so, a small attempt at humor. Any more on the public comments? Second time, any questions for the public comment period? Anything online? Michael, are you watching that or Nate? Okay, nothing?
No hands up.
Okay. And the third time, any comments from the public, whether it be on social or in the audience? Hearing none. Moving on to minutes from previous meetings, 11/21/22 Board of Trustee meeting, 11/17/22 strategic planning session minutes, and 12/12/22 Board of Trustees and Plan Commission joint.
Motion to approve 4, 5, and 6.
Motion by Ermeling to approve 4, 5, and 6, second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Reports, minutes from boards, committees, and commissions.
Move to acknowledge items 14, 15, and 16 concurrently.
Motion by Feeny to acknowledge,
I'll second.
second by Ermeling. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Just for the audience, there are agendas on the back wall also. So if you didn't pick one up or know that they were there, they're in the back on a stack. Let's see, reports from departments. Administrator. let's see, everybody's got a report in the packet, but any more to add?
Yes, I realized after going through the agenda today that my report from the last meeting was the one that I picked accidentally and got stuck in the packet. I had a very short report that I intended to get in the packet. Just that we hadn't met with CUNY on Friday to go over some of these details on the project that still have to get finalized. Of course, we meet every Tuesday with Myra and the architect. We know that the discussion of a possible use of the fabric shell structure is on the agenda later as a separate item. As a member of the Everest Area Optimists, I was asked to give a presentation at the December 1st meeting of the group. About the new building, so Michael and I take teamed on that. I think they were pleased to get the presentation, certainly be able to give that elsewhere if people so desire. I guess we have some things then to kind of look at going forward here on the fate of our former site at 5500 Schofield Avenue. I have included some information on the update for the ARPA, possible uses of ARPA funds. We might want to consider there. And then the staff met with Corey from Prairie Valley Consulting for the final session of our strategic planning process. So we'll be getting information out on that based on some of the public input that came up, but also as we get this plan finalized, we have some things to go through based on the strategic initiatives that were identified in our last session with the staff and with the board were present. So I guess nothing else to report at this time unless you have questions.
Any questions? Anything further? No? Okay. And for the audience, if you're having a hard time hearing, we don't have the audio hooked up yet in this room. And it's on back order. I think we're looking at March, right? So we definitely have a nice package coming in here that you'll be able to hear much, much better than you are probably right now. So if there's something you can't hear, make sure you put your hand up and we'll have it repeated so you understand what we're talking about, okay? Clerk, anything you want to add, Barb?
Nothing further.
Pam? Wow. Holy mackerel. Thank you, Pam.
Must be Monday.
Wow, unreal. Finance, anything, Jessica, you want to add?
I guess I just want to update that the tax bills did end up in mailboxes over the weekend.
I was patiently waiting by my mailbox tonight and I did not get my mail when I left, so I'm sure I'll be waiting for when I get.
A lot of people got them Saturday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a couple people in the audience got them too, so. Good. All right, thank you. Any questions for Pam or Jessica? Fire EMS, welcome, Chief.
Hello, I only have one thing to add to the report that you have. At our last board meeting, our board did approve purchase of a new ambulance. That'll be replacing one of our older units. So that got ordered last week. It's about 2 years before we're gonna get it. And then that one will be the last one of this current brand that we're buying. Then the whole fleet will be switched over to that. And then moving forward, we won't replace the entire ambulance. We'll just replace the chassis, which is about a 50% cost savings.
Wow.
So that's what we'll be doing moving forward. This will be the last expensive ambulance we'll have to purchase, and then everything after that will be quite a bit cheaper. Other than that, if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Chief. Park and Rec, Sean?
I do have a report from the packet. If anybody has any questions on it or others, please let me know.
Any additional questions? No? Thank you. Plan development, Jennifer?
Not have anything additional. Do you have any questions?
I like it that I have to switch my head each different way when I gotta keep going down here. So you did a very good job on doing that. All right, so nothing more for Jennifer. Any questions? All right. I get to stay over here. Chief?
Quick staffing update. We do have 2 vacancies currently. We'll have a third in January. We'll have another retirement. A school resource officer position will be decided this week, along with a detective promotion process will be announced. And then a sergeant promotion will be started in January due to retirement.
Who's involved on selection of the school resource? DC Everest Administration?
Yes.
Yourself?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, good. All right, anything more for Chief? No? All right, thank you. Public Works, Michael.
I guess nothing really extra to add unless anybody has any questions. We do have snow season here, so I guess one note is we do have some younger employees, so if you do see two people in a truck, we're getting them trained, so everybody knows how to operate the equipment, so.
In the areas, okay, roundabouts. I mean, that's quite a bit of snow already. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, usually we have one or two events and we talk about it and see how everybody's doing, and they've been out quite a bit, so. Only one tough day, you know, back in our neighborhood, so, yeah. It's, and I waved to him when he came by and put about 5 feet in my driveway, so I was pretty thrilled, but anyway. So it is, 26, last is technology, Nate.
Nothing to add in my report.
That's right, I can't hear you.
Nothing to add to.
Oh, okay, yeah, we don't have I'm just teasing, so, we don't have the microphones yet. So we're gonna get microphones, we're gonna get, a TV over here yet, right?
2 over there, yeah.
And, the monitor's gonna go up in the ceiling somewhere, or what, in the back, and one here?
And one of
Okay. So just so you know, if you go on our village website, you can, you know, view these meetings indefinitely, correct? Yeah, or live, so, yeah. And, you're gonna see them even better, so, once this all gets set up, so. Be good. All right, any more questions with Nate? Hearing none? Nope. We have to, acknowledge those, right?
Move to acknowledge, item 28.
Oh, you're moving there, okay. Let's see, November budget status report by Feeny, a motion. Second by Zakami. Any questions on the budget status report? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Consent agenda. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve 30 and 31.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Ermling to approve 30 and 31, second by Cronin. Any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Ordinances, number 33, ordinance number 22-021. An ordinance to create section 34.216, vehicle accident and vehicle fire billing. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Cronin,
I'll second.
second by Hardinger. Anything on the discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This isn't like the one we passed here a couple years ago where we could bill for $500 to the insurance companies for auto fires. And then Rib Mountain rescinded theirs and we had to take ours out.
No, we're doing this in unison with
Okay,
both
but
communities.
Is this the same thing or is this something different? Because I
Chief?
see it says hazardous
Yeah.
materials.
So the one that Rib Mountain wanted pulled out was structure fires. We had a $500 fee for structure fires in the past that our board had us rescind. So this is similar, but it's not the same as that one. And this did have full support from the Safer Board.
Okay, that was gonna be
Yep.
my question because I didn't wanna pass something if it was gonna have to be rescinded because it wasn't.
Their board already, the town's board already passed it.
They're actually, well, a step ahead of us on this one.
Correct. Yep.
So we're in lockstep right now with Safer. Safer's
Because
doing
that
very,
one
very
was,
well.
I couldn't figure out insurance companies, your insurance pays that
Mhm.
500 and I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't collect on something that wasn't gonna really cost the taxpayer.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more in discussion?
Chief,
Yes.
will this help to offset some of the burden on taxpayers or?
Somewhat, it's pretty minimal. So this is a couple fold. I mean, we'll get a little bit of money from the vehicle crashes that's usually covered by insurance. The other part that we're looking into this is with more and more electric vehicles. Fire departments across the country are starting to experience more of those, and they are not like our typical car fires. They're very labor intensive, they're very resource intensive. So although we don't have anything in place yet to bill for those, this ordinance allows us to do that in the future if we
We're kind of sitting back and taking a look at seeing some of the data coming in
Right.
on those. I mean, so a typical car fire uses how much water? You had the
500
gallons.
gallons.
Yeah, and then on an electrical one,
It's been tens of thousands.
tens of thousands. It just doesn't go out. It'd be best if you had a bath and you could lift this car and set it in there because there's just no sure way of handling it right now, so.
I remember your
pretty messy.
presentation from 2 or 3 months ago.
There's a disposal issue too, isn't there?
There is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Lots of issues.
There's a lot of questions with it right now that nobody really has answers to.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolutions. Resolution number 2022-023, a resolution of the Village of Weston adopting the Marathon County All Hazards Mitigation Plan 2022 update.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermling,
Second.
second by Feeny. Anything more on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Did you catch Jamie on that one? Okay, I caught it too. 35, resolution number 2022-024. A resolution changing the polling place for all wards in the Village of Weston.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami,
Second.
second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion?
A quick question for Clerk Brem. My only real concern with this is high turnout elections. And Dale's, as large as it is, even Dale struggled to house all of the voters simultaneously. Do you foresee that being an issue here?
I don't believe so. We can utilize both rooms here. So we could, we've been thinking about that, how we're gonna handle that in 2024. And we could maybe split the alphabet, so half of that room there would take A through M, and this would do N through Z. And then we would be able to maneuver everybody through seamlessly. We can have people come in this door, and then that back door, people can come through and exit out that door. So it should work pretty well.
I think on that standpoint, I think it will work out well. You know, and it'll be nice to have all the equipment here, have staff here, not having to mobilize it all the time. I think our real pain point is gonna be parking.
I was just gonna
And
say.
it is gonna be a stinker.
Yeah,
And,
because we filled up the parking lot there. pretty
and,
much.
thank heavens all the equipment will be inside because I think a lot of people will be parking in the back. You're just gonna have to. And I don't know if there's a walkway through. I don't think there is. You know, but maybe if we could figure out something and put some kind of a little walkway through there, it'd be kind of a nice little touring time too, to be able to see that garage, but that parking is gonna be a stinker, I'll tell you. And it's just so spread out, where at Dale's, it's just boom, 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 it's so close, so. Yeah, we'll deal with it, but it will be nice to have it back. Let's see, we're on the discussion, so, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 36, resolution number 2022-026. Final assessments for the Crestwood Acres reconstruction project.
President Maloney, I'm going to excuse myself for conflict of interest.
Okay. Note that trustee Feeney has recused himself. We have a motion on the floor by Zagami to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Cronin. Anything on the discussion?
This is based on the latest number.
Correct, yep.
And finalize it, all the,
Yeah, and it was recommended by Public Works last week, Monday.
How much different or?
The final cost ended up being slightly more. Our one there. Trying to do three things at once here, sorry.
586 versus
Yep.
the original.
Yeah, so the
597.
calculated assessment rate is 597. The original estimate was 586. Per our ordinance, we use the lesser of the two.
we're gonna hold the public hearing.
No, but we just use the original
Yep,
estimate.
the original one was
You're not
already
gonna
approved.
increase it,
He's not gonna raise it.
okay?
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Unfinished business, update and possible action on American Rescue Plan ARPA funds, bullet point aquatic center repairs. Let the record show that trustee Feeney rejoined the board.
I guess,
On this,
Sean, did you want to comment or should we make a motion? What?
Well, I think Keith probably has an update on
Okay,
ARPA funds in general. And we can talk about the aquatic center repairs separately if you'd like. They were discussed at finance and then they were also previously discussed at Park and Rec. If you'd like to take that in first, we could do that, or we can, Keith has a full handout that he gave you for the meeting to look at as far as our funds.
I just did a quick look at this today to kind of update where we were with anything we've approved.
Mhm.
So you all have a copy, it's two-sided, some extra text.
Well, yeah, before we get up to the master sheet, the finance committee we looked at, using ARPA funds to add up to an additional 40,000 for the, repair.
Yep.
Of the facility, so when we met earlier, we talked about that.
Okay.
So our recommendation was to use the ARPA funds for it.
Okay.
So, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, we received $2.2 million of ARPA funds, American.
How much was it?
2.2.
2.2 million overall. So far, what has been approved to be used is in this column that I titled actual cost. We had come up with some ideas of where this money could be allocated or used at one point. That's what we put in this budget estimate column. But what we've actually authorized to be used is in this actual cost column. So of the $2.2 million, we still have, I guess based on what's in this actual cost column, there's still 1.4 million to still be allocated. Now, tonight, one of the proposal was, as has been recommended by the finance committee, to use another $40,000 for the leak repairs at the aquatic center. That would take the total for that particular project up to 80,000 because there was originally 80,000 or 40,000 that was authorized for that. You're gonna hear a presentation from Nate on the security cameras security cameras later for another 81,000 for that. For that project, that would be at some of the park facilities that we talked about. Aside from that, nothing else has been approved. I'm sorry, other than the park master plan and comprehensive outdoor recreation plan update, that's 31,500. So
you said you had approvals and balance up, over in the right column.
right,
All right.
at the far right on the
See,
bottom.
I'm just confused with how you have the actual cost versus the approvals, okay.
Yeah. The only other thing that I want to maybe talk about a little bit on this is, we've talked about some of the site preparation costs at the other facility. We have already done an environmental assessment and considering doing asbestos evaluation over at the other facility. We got a proposal, or I should say an estimate on what it would take to do the demolition at that site. But I guess the question would be whether or not we want to entertain using some of these ARPA funds for that initial evaluation for the environmental site assessment, which is really $11,300 or something in that.
No, we're talking building now, internal,
Talking about
because
the
external is done.
the other, for the other site, this was actually the site assessment, exterior, interior, aside from any asbestos evaluation, that'll be another $3,900 is the estimate. That would be something to come before the board, probably at the next meeting, but we do have some costs that we incurred. I said it's a little bit over $11,000 on the environmental site assessment and that underground storage tank update to the deed that were done previously, I guess. So that could either be done through our capital project fund, or we could authorize using ARPA money for that as well.
So REI came, right, and did
Right.
the assessment of the ground
Right,
and found nothing, correct?
right.
Right, so now we're talking about asbestos, right?
As an additional cost.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that at this point, we have charged those costs into a capital project fund. And we could instead, rather than have it on a borrowing, use ARPA money for that.
You're talking $11,000.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yep, I'm sorry.
That's a destructive testing they're gonna do, right?
Correct. That's why they wanted us to wait. Why it's best to wait until we are out of the facility before they do that.
Yep.
Director Troutman, would moving it from the borrowing to the ARPA funds have any impact on our budget for 2023?
And it would just free up funds that we would normally use for other projects.
Okay. So we're looking for the 40,000 additional for the park right now. That's
There
what's.
is room in there, right? There is extra money in there?
Yeah,
Parks, yes, it's the.
so that's the question on,
80.
that's the question tonight for the board,
Right.
right? Okay. And that's it, nothing else. Okay.
Unless you want to consider moving that, that 11,000 or the money used for the environmental assessment at this point. Otherwise, it will go to a capital project.
Well, in my mind, in just my one opinion, you know, I think that all the ARPA funds, anything used, it should be, it has to touch everybody. So I think the pool potentially could touch everybody. I believe, you know, the contamination, you know, is the same thing. But there has been some projects that we've talked about that don't touch everybody. And I just don't, if they don't touch the entire community, I just think it shouldn't be used. So, anybody else's thoughts? Jasper, did you have something or?
I have a question. Are we just talking about approving money for the aquatic center or?
Just that right now.
Okay.
Correct, but he, the administrator wants to know if we want to add the 11,000 on.
Well,
That's
the
not-
only reason I'm asking, the
But it's
agenda
not on
item is
here. That's-
correct, so we can't vote on that.
Yeah, I don't think we can
Yep.
put that on there.
We can only vote on the aquatic center the way
You
the
can move
agenda.
it to the next meeting.
Correct.
As a,
Actually, yeah, because the way it's worded on 37, it only, it's just really a possible action with the bullet point is just aquatic. I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, yeah.
So that's-
that is
To
an
approve
aquatic
the
center.
utilizing an additional 40,000 in ARPA funds for the aquatic center leak repairs and restoration.
motion by Hardinger,
Second.
second by. Okay, we got Feeny on it. Sorry, Jamie.
It's okay.
That's all right. Any more on the discussion?
I just, if there's anything else that needs to come back then.
Yep.
For January.
Have it on the agenda?
Yep.
Yep. With hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 37 is done. 38, discussion and action on the request to vacate unimproved portion of the Dominica Street right-of-way laying south of Mary Lane.
Oh, kitty.
Yours?
So at the last meeting, this item was discussed. It was deferred action for this meeting. The question before the board at that time was whether to refer it to public hearing or to not consider it further. There were some other questions for some information that were gathered and provided in the packet, also provided to the petitioner for this particular question, Joe Wisniewski. And I don't know if he shared it, I presume he probably shared it with his legal counsel. I did not do that since I didn't feel it was my place to do that, but I guess in listening, kind of reviewing some of the discussion at the last meeting, there seemed to be some focus on the fact that the assertion that there's not legal access to this property, which is not true. If you look at a couple of exhibits that I put together, there was an identical situation in the Windermere Oaks subdivision on Windsor Drive, the corner of Windsor and Warwick Drive. That was, there was an unapproved right-of-way there that was actually dedicated in the same manner, I should say dedicated in quotes, in the same manner as the right-of-ways or the outlots for future right-of-ways in the Wandering Springs West subdivision. This particular case, the developer on the unapproved right-of-way agreed to quitclaim the right-of-way to the village. And that property owner just has an access agreement, if you will, that formalizes the fact that if that street is improved, that driveway opening would then have to be reconfigured and match in with this, or I should say, enter the street just as it would, on any other private entrance on a street in the village. That was I'm quite sure the same thought that went into the driveway that is now on Dominica serving 5803 Marion Lane, the Mosnesky home. There's no formal agreement that certainly could be put together. And then I guess the other thing that's not understood here, I guess, is that I believe that the petitioner, Mr. Mosnesky, wants the entire right-of-way vacated. If that were to happen, that western half of that right-of-way goes to the property owner on the west side. So, I guess the question before the board is if they want to refer this to a public hearing yet, or not take any action at all. Heath Tappy, the owner of the property to the south, followed up with an email in the last, after sending the most recent email, that he's still not able to sign or not willing to sign a petition that would allow the discontinuance of the street because he's not sure of his need, depending on how that subdivision may be laid out in the future. And he's indicated it would be likely in 2024 or 25. I guess that's what I know of it. This is not a decision for the administrator. This is a decision that comes to the board for their decision on what, how they want to proceed here. The board must hold a public hearing if there's consideration of doing a discontinuance or otherwise known as a vacation of the right-of-way or any part of it.
Okay, so with the two drawings on here, regardless of which one, if we choose one, which would then give access to the residents, and it would still hold options open for future development to the south, correct?
Correct.
And the difference that I see is, okay, there we go. Yeah, I can look at it this way. So can you just pan up to the other one, Nate or Michael? Okay, so the difference I see is there's more, each has 21 and a half feet and 16 at the bottom. Do you see that? So that would be vacated and that would be under public hearing would go to the existing tenant, correct?
So what that's showing is the 16 feet of right-of-way would be the proposed discontinuance.
Right.
Or vacation.
Well.
And then it would be 50 feet would remain as street right-of-way. That 21 and a half foot dimension would be the distance from the nearest point of the building to the
right-of-way.
New right-of-way.
Okay. Now, do you see the bottom figures here? Do you see the 5 feet, the 10 feet, and the 3 feet? Now move up to the next drawing. Who's this, Michael?
Yep.
All right, now this one here is a 9 and a 9. Do you see that? Okay. And which one takes the road to the farthest to the west? Why don't?
Same.
Yeah, so the road stays the same regardless. So this one here, this is the one that I talked to you about that I think we should do. So this has 9 feet of green on each side. So with the vacation of the 16 feet to the current resident, it would also give them another 9 feet, but it would be right away in green. You see what I'm saying? Now move back to the other one more time, please. And who, Michael doing this? Okay. See this one here? It shifts more green, or I should say, gravel to the west side, and it eliminates that 9 feet of a feeling of more land, for the tenant. Now, we all have right of way in front of our homes or on the streets. People put their sprinkling systems right on the curb, and you're not supposed to, but they do. But the other one, if I go back to the 9 and 9, it'll give more of an impression of more land, more available land. And the width of that street would be 9 and 9, so 18, what would that be?
32.
32? Yeah, okay.
So it's back of curb to back of curb.
Gotcha.
These are just conceptual or certainly other.
Right.
I guess the main question is this consideration of the discontinuance of a 16-foot piece or any part of that right of way there.
So what would be the width of the road, still 32?
Yeah, so the roads in that subdivision are all 32 feet wide from back of curb to back of curb. So
But does it have to be that wide?
it doesn't have to be,
That's right. So we could, the minimum this road could be is,
probably 24, so
that's what I was hearing,
about
24.
28, I guess, if you add the shoulder. 8
Okay.
feet on each side.
So if we could even, would that actually shorten then the right of way also? Or would it still stay the same width of the 32 plus the 2 nines?
We'd probably want to keep a 50-foot right of way.
Okay, just 50 though.
Utility
Okay.
purposes.
So the options for Denyon, for Heath Tappy would be open. And then it wouldn't matter when he signs, but those options would be there. And it would also give relief to the homeowner.
Okay, so
Yep.
then he could continue to use
Correct.
the driveway the way it is unless at some time in point in time, if that other land is developed, we do a new road through there or whatever, he may have to do something with his.
No,
Correct.
He doesn't have to do anything really.
No.
Because they're gonna put the road there,
Okay,
32
well, I'm
feet or
just gonna, yeah,
whatever.
But we don't need to put the road in until a time that we have.
right, but I just
Right.
wanted to make sure he had access.
Mhm.
Right.
And that 16 feet would give him, we wouldn't be, our right of way wouldn't be at his
On
garage
his
door,
garage door.
you
That
know.
would give relief to the property owner.
And solve the future problem too.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that your understanding, Joe? Have you seen this in the last couple of weeks?
I've seen this,
I'm sorry.
I haven't heard anything about squeezing that road to 24 feet.
Okay.
Okay, that's all.
And I apologize about that. Those are just some inside discussions that we're having. So just for the record, state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Joe Mazaneski. This is my wife Lori.
Hey,
We live at 5803 Mary Lane.
okay. So, your comments.
Okay. Also, not talking about these right now. I'm going to give a few points as to vacating it. Okay. Also, my attorney Davis Rundy is here to follow up with points of his own, especially if I can get through this. I want to let you know too, I recognize a lot of my neighbors here. I'm really glad they're here to support me and us. So we've recently discovered that our home is in non-compliance because of the setback distance to Dominica Street right away. The setback distance from our home now is 5.5 feet, where it should have been 32. We've asked the village to discontinue this right away rather than to try to squeeze the street into our current driveway and close to our home. We feel this is a reasonable and logical solution based on the fact that there are already 2 dedicated access roads providing a direct line of travel to and from Schofield Avenue for access to any future development south of Mary Lane. There was mentioned that until it is known what this development will be to the south, that the Dominica Street right-of-way could possibly be useful. When questioning whether this right-of-way could possibly be used, it seems logical that no matter what type of development occurs south of Mary Lane, whether it be a residential subdivision, or even if it would include apartments along the highway, regardless of what is built there or whatever amount of traffic it generates, all that traffic going north or south will use the straight and direct line of travel down one of the 2 dedicated roads, Old Costa Municipal. There's no logic at all to turning east or west just to circle through where our driveway is and then to circle back to get on the original route so you can get out. Egress or emergency access doesn't even come into play because Dominica does not go through to Schofield Avenue. If one of the 2 main arteries are blocked, you can use the other. If both are blocked, north of Connie Lane by some catastrophic event, then you can't get to Dominica anyway. If there's a blockage south of Mary Lane and another one to the north of Mary Lane, you can circle through Connie and get through, or vice versa. There would need to be numerous trees down throughout the entire subdivision at specific locations all at once in order to block access through. If you look at that map, it's pretty hard to figure out a way. I'm just gonna ask, if you'd imagine for a minute, if the Dominica right-of-way did not exist at all, just things as they currently are, just Mary Lane as it is, with 8 homes along the south side of the road and 2 dedicated access roads leading south on each end. And now imagine that a new development is proposed south of Mary Lane. Would anyone here say, nope, it can't be done? We can't develop that land. We only have 2 access roads providing a direct line of travel to and from that area. Can't be done. I doubt it. The village would be happy to have 2 deeded access roads to and from that proposed development. If there happened to be a spot where there was a 3rd road could go through a patch of woods and no one would be affected, then sure, go ahead and put it there. But when someone's not at fault, and it's going to affect the appearance and the value of their property, and logic points to it being not necessary, then someone should make a motion to just continue the right of way. You can tell this thing it's pretty stressful. Really glad my neighbors are here. Now it's changed our life plan because, you know, we planned on staying there maybe 10, 12 years till our kids got through school, college, had a big driveway for extra cars. House is made for that type of a family. And our life plan was probably stay there 10, 12 years, downsize, something we could afford more easily. Now we're talking about something that'll devalue our home, short, stubby driveway. Probably take the equity that I've worked for the last 15 years. If I were a trustee, I'd hope that I'd be counted on to be trusted to do what's fair. And just make a motion to just discontinue this thing so we can have the house the way it's supposed to be, the way we paid for it. It's not our fault. It's not fair either. Just being fair.
All right, thank you, Joe. So when you said recently discovered, I just want to make sure everybody understands that this, I was at the meeting when Joe showed up, and it was 2018. I was running for my third time getting back on the board, and I happened to be at the meeting when Joe and his wife were petitioning for this. They had found out trying to sell their home that they couldn't sell their home because of this there. But under the next 3 years, we had no access on the two sides. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that, because it's been a real pain to get that, to get the two property owners on each side, one of them being the person that built this house. We couldn't talk to them. I mean, 3 years. It took us almost 4 years. Last year, this year, is when we actually got the right of way from the Bushka corner and the Stan's corner, correct?
So it was finalized.
Finally finalized, from 18 all the way to there. It took the village that long to get that done. So there was no access other than this access. Just want to clear it up. I've been all over the board on this. And right now, in my opinion, I'm just trying to satisfy the landowner and to satisfy the future development, the owner of all that southern land, because prior to this, it was a family that owned that land, and the only access they had was through this right here. The other two weren't even in existence up to this year, in 22, correct?
Came off of Costa Lane.
Costa Lane, okay. But only through the family.
But the explicit dedication of the right of way was not done as it probably should have been in the plat. Again, just like at the Windermere Oaks subdivision.
Yep.
Can I make a point of order here?
Sure.
And I see that we have someone else ready, the attorney, ready to make some arguments to the board. But the question before the board tonight is really no different than it was last time. And I think that is the only decision we made tonight, is whether you're going to public hearing on this or whether you're not going to consider it further. And I don't think you can't just make a motion to do this without the public hearing on the statute.
Or it's a denial, or
It's not.
the search last month was to bring it back to planning. The understanding I have with talking to a few of the plan commissions is it would die in planning. This is the best chance, and this has the most opportunity and best option to have this resolved.
So just understand, if you refer to plan commission, they'll make a recommendation. It does not mean you need to follow that recommendation.
Right. It still comes back to the board.
Right.
Barb?
Ultimately,
Yeah,
it's heard by the board.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess as I'm looking at this, and say if we vacated that, could we, at some point in time, we may need a utility easement or something?
Exactly.
Can we have at least some needs to vacate, but still have some utility easements in there?
My issue is we don't know what's gonna be in the southern
Well, right.
half. And for public safety alone, not for plowing, not for access for the residents, just public safety. I know Joel has a point that it's not the two direct routes. But to give up another opportunity, when we can actually make this whole here, I see this as a win-win. I do.
It's not feasible though, what you have in that diagram, that 20 feet.
It's very feasible.
Garage.
It's very feasible.
That's a parking spot, and if he leaves his bumper hanging out, I mean, it's not a reason.
So where the driveway is that's legal to the landowner or the future landowner, resident, everyone has right of way of their driveway. You know, I don't know how much of my driveway, 6 to 8 feet.
Generally, so, 13 to 16 feet.
Of my driveway is right of way. And it'll look the same here on this property. So it's not just what you see, that 21 and a half. You're also gonna see more right of way that'll look like a driveway, like we all have now.
If you look on this diagram.
It's hard to conceptually to see this. I had to actually look at my driveway and look at other plans that we're looking at to give this, the presentation that he's looking for to be able to sell it without, taking a big hit. Yes.
Dan Gacky, I live at 6406 County Lane. Has anybody gone and visited this and look at the elevation? If you stand on Mary Lane and look south, with Dominic at your back, that was uphill. Okay? So if any excavation is done to make that road go through there, or that street go through there, Joe's driveway is now uphill. And I would say it's probably gonna be somewhere close to a 7 or 9% grade.
Michael?
I don't know.
Why would it not continue to be the way it is?
Yeah, you'd look to match the driveway grade of what's already there. I mean,
Right.
might go uphill, but then.
The initial grade, exactly, is
Pretty steep.
rather steep.
Uh,
So now you're gonna reduce that to a 20-foot section. That, I don't think.
No,
You
that's
bring
not
the
true.
roadbed up to,
Right.
you know,
He's got
I would say you'd have to bring a road bed up to it.
question for Director Higgins or Director Wodolski. With the other two dedicated roads, would there be a major cost increase in terms of potentially getting utilities or fiber cables to the to any future development? Or would this be the most direct and most efficient route?
I guess from a utility standpoint, it all depends on how a future development would be laid out. You know, whether they would need to utilize this section for sanitary sewer access for gravity sewer. You know, that 40 acres or whatever that total acreage is really I guess it's a blank slate. We don't develop that. We don't draw it. That is up to the developer to figure out how they want to best utilize their land. So if they need that they need that area for sanitary sewer access, they might. They might also be able to design it somehow not to, but we don't tell them how to design it.
Okay.
We give them a parameter of, you know, these are general lot sizes and things, but they lay it out how they deem best for their use of their.
And being that that 40 acres might not have a plan until 24 or 25. I just believe we need to leave those options open.
And then Chief Finke and Chief Schultz, I assume that's the same for public safety? It all depends how the actual layout of any future development may look?
For me, without knowing, without knowing what's gonna be in there, it's pretty hard to say. I was just gonna look at a map here to get a little better idea. I mean, I know the general gist of it, but without knowing what type of construction is in there, it's pretty hard to say.
Ivan Lukowski, I live on 6406. By the way, it's Dominica, as in the singing nun, Dominica. I was one of the first residents of Wandering Springs West. I can tell you that land back there is very wet. That is a stream that runs down his driveway every spring. It is a stream that I pump out of my sump pump for every 30 seconds for a month and a half. So that property may be developed, it may not be developed. I think the gentleman has waited 4 years for an answer, and he deserves to have that property vacated. I think you're applying a rule that doesn't match on Wandering Springs East. There's nobody, what are you gonna do if they develop the land behind Wandering Springs East? Plow through somebody's house? Go all the way to Robinwood. There is no access to the land between the freeway and the houses there as well. You're applying an unfair rule, and I fully support that you vacate this and leave our subdivision to be the quiet subdivision that it deserves to be. Thank you.
Someone has their hand raised on.
Sure.
Yep, this is Jarrett Nickel. I'm the resident at 5707 Mary Lane, the house to the west that is in the picture in the presentation. Yes, that house. I agree 100% with what's being said to vacate. I think the scenarios provided about emergency management as well as utility access, I think to Joe's point made earlier, this should be envisioned without that road being in existence and vacated. I think, again, we're creating what if scenarios that if we're talking till 2024, 2025, that puts another 2 to 3 years on Joe's timeline. That, again, I believe he should be afforded the ability to sell his house or make that decision to do what he chooses with it without having to wait another 3 years from this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a question. Just, if this were vacated, Joe would still have to redo his driveway, correct? Because it would get split down the middle, and part of his driveway would then lie in the property owner's land that's to the west, am I correct?
If it's a complete discontinuance or vacation, yes.
May I address that point? Mr. Nickel has agreed with Mr. Mozanowski that if it were to be vacated, that portion of Mr. Nickel's property would be given to the Mozanowskis.
I don't believe there's, what was the thought that if this gets vacated, it's actually not, it can't go back to that property. It's gonna, no, hold on, go ahead. What?
The right of way would be from the ownership of the budding property owners on each side, 50%.
That is correct. And the 50% that would go to Mr. Nickel, Mr. Nickel has agreed to give that to Mr. Mozanowski. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Nickel.
No, that is correct.
They would have to go through their own
Right.
sale.
Yep,
That would
yep.
be something the village wouldn't be involved in except for adding the parcel to
So the
his.
question still is, do you send this to public hearing or not? We're taking all kinds of input here that would normally be coming at the public hearing. This hasn't been noticed as it's supposed to be, by law, class 3 notice and all. So if somebody objects to what has happened and we haven't followed the proper process, it can all be for naught.
We're not here, excuse me, we're not here tonight to ask for the vacation to happen tonight. We are asking that it go to public hearing. That's been our ask all along. So we are asking to follow the proper procedure.
No, actually, a month ago, the ask was to have it revert back to the
Well,
land.
that's what was on the agenda item,
But you
correct?
also made a statement that Heath Tappy gave up his right. I promised you I would talk to him the next morning, and I did, and he did not make that at all.
Give this promise of.
You made a claim that Heath Tappy, the owner of the 40 acres, was gonna let it go and sign off on it, and that's not true.
No, I didn't. I said Mr. Tappy told me that if a plan were to be approved that only utilized 2 access points, he would agree to that because he does not prefer a concept that utilizes the right-of-way down Dominica.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's not true. I had a conversation with Heath.
I'm telling you what I said at this last board meeting.
You know, this isn't gonna be an argument. I'm not gonna have this discussion with you, okay?
Well,
It's not gonna happen. We have an owner here.
Yes.
And we have
I'm his
a board
lawyer.
here. We're not having a hearing right now.
We're having a discussion.
No, we don't, I actually don't have to have a discussion with you, okay? That doesn't have to happen. I'm not gonna go another hour like last month and it went nowhere. And you did make a statement, and I believe this board heard you say that about Heath Tappy. I promised you I was gonna talk to him, and I did, and he denied what you said. So Heath is not here tonight, but I'm not gonna go through this another hour. I told you this is not a hearing, and it's not a hearing, okay? Trustee Ermeling.
I would like to make a motion to refer this to the planning committee for a public hearing.
Is that proper?
The public hearing is with the board.
It would be the board.
It's ultimately.
Yep, it's gonna revert back. What we have the option to do is to take this to a public hearing.
We can also refer it to Plan Commission separately for their recommendation.
Yes.
Yes,
True. Yes, we can.
yes, I would
Yep.
like planning committee to have it one more time and then have it that we would have a public hearing.
And
However,
is that a motion?
yes,
I will second it. And then I just want to clarify.
Hold on. We have a motion by Ermeling to have this revert back to the plan commission. We have a second by Cronin for the same. So now we're on discussion, okay? Just so you know where we are. Okay, go ahead.
I would like to make an amendment to your motion that this will be put on the January Plan Commission agenda with action to be taken by the board at their January meeting.
So a week after.
Week after.
You
So-
can't.
That would not.
There's not enough time.
Yeah.
So.
How much time do we need?
So it's after you adopt that resolution, you can't have the hearing until 45 days later from the meeting that you adopt the resolution.
Now wait a minute. To your point though, if the plan commission wants to go to a hearing, then it comes to the board a week later.
They're just gonna tell you
Okay.
what they think about it.
Right.
The responsibility will be the board's.
Mhm.
The hearing will be with the board. I mean, you could adopt the resolution tonight to send it to hearing. They could talk about it, but I don't think there's enough time to have you look at it again in January, based off of how we have to send the notices. All these people are gonna get served, and it's
Right.
basically via a certified mail, and we have to follow the statutes. So that meeting can't be until 45 days after the resolution is adopted. So if it's adopted tonight, your hearing can't be until
45.
It's actually 40 days, I believe.
Or 40.
But so
But it's still not in the window of the
Yeah,
third
it's
Monday.
longer than 30
So what
days.
are we looking at, February then?
That's probably doable, just
For plan
with,
commission and board?
Plan Commission can look at it anytime.
Okay,
It would just be the hearing, because that's where we have to, there's noticing requirements with the paper. We have to put together the hearing. We have to get all the mailings together. You're coming into a holiday where, you know,
sure.
timeframes.
So a motion to send it to planning committee for review and then to set a date for the public hearing.
You would set the date.
I know, but I'm saying that the board would set a date for a public hearing.
So,
That could happen tonight.
Yeah,
we can
That could happen tonight.
We could do that tonight, and then the
Yeah.
planning commission could review it at their next meeting, and then we could give that advisement while this is already in the works.
Right, well, I just don't, conversation was going nowhere. We gotta,
So do we set the date for the February board meeting? That's more than 45 days,
You
right?
would just approve, and then we would figure the date out in the
Okay.
hearing notice.
I just don't want to kick this down the road any
It
further. I'd like
will,
to-
it'll just, I have to
It's
figure
been
out
going on
what
since
that
18. It's
date
horrible.
is.
It's horrible.
Well, does it sound like we need to make an amendment to that motion then, just to approve the recommendation to move forward with the hearing? Stay with the hearing?
well, I wanted to go to planning.
right,
But they'll have time to look at it in that window without delaying
Right,
public hearing.
right.
There's a draft resolution in the packet. Just what we want to do is adopt that resolution with the date that is desired for that hearing. You want to have a regular meeting date or a special meeting date?
Well, I think the sooner would be the better, if we're talking 45 days. 45 days as of tonight.
It's 40.
40, excuse me.
So
so
we didn't vote on our resolution.
it looks,
I rescind my,
it looks like the neighborhood of February 2nd-ish.
I think I would have to rescind my second and then you would have to.
right,
So I'll rescind my second to your motion.
and I'll rescind my motion. And
That would
then
be
I
at a
will-
February meeting.
Right, and then, okay, how, can I see how this should be worded in my motion? Is there some red, there we go. I move to direct staff to draft a resolution to conduct a public hearing on the vacation and discontinuance of Dominica Street.
Actually,
I've never known
the
that.
resolution is already in there. I think you're looking at the one that I had put together last month.
Well, whatever is up on.
The draft resolution is already in there.
So what am I doing? I wanna approve the resolution, my,
Resolution to conduct the hearing on February 20th. Is that the right date?
That would give us. February 20th is the
Or do
date.
we want to do a special meeting for this?
no,
Well, I mean, because what's happening here is in essence, not a hearing, but it's a hearing
Treated as such.
Yeah,
Well, it's turning into that.
it's turning into it and it's not agenda.
So your next meeting would be the 20th of February.
okay, so I move to, resolution on February 20th for a public hearing?
Yes. Are you gonna make that a second?
I'll make the second. So, you need to-
Okay.
so first and second, on that point, do we still need to send this back to planning?
I would like it sent back to planning. Just
And-
for their input or whatever.
Because I think the board has to direct that.
Can we make that a separate motion after this?
Yeah.
In the motion to say,
And also
yeah,
have it go back to the next, second Monday of January, correct?
So I'll make an amendment to the motion to hold the public hearing after referral to the plan commission at the January meeting.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
Or second, yes, second the amendment. Yep.
Okay.
So now let's
Vote on
voting
that.
on the amendment.
As amended.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So carried. Now on the original.
Voting on the motion as amended.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Now, when will the residents get a notice for this? How soon prior to the hearing? I mean, can we give it as much as possible time? I mean, right now, they're hearing it already.
We have to give
Yeah.
the 30-day,
Mhm.
it was listed in the packet. They'll go out
But-
as soon as we send them to the paper.
So we just solidified the 20th of February as the, okay, so right now, the residents know that it's the 20th. Okay, good. Right.
Okay, is that?
Mhm.
Let me give it to you.
Can I just,
Yes,
play mediator just for a second? I know you and Davis
Joe,
kind of went
you're
there.
the landowner. Joe,
All I'm gonna say is.
I was completely with you.
I know, I understand, thank you. All I wanted to say is, it's very possible that Tappy told Davis one thing and you another.
Possible, yep, could be.
And
Word of the different, yep.
And so,
Yeah, I didn't mean to come off that way, but I did promise you I was gonna talk.
I mean, that's very possible. I don't think Heath is here. And it, you know, if somebody does something like that, it can cause a problem. And
I'm fine.
I'd like to see that.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm fine.
I'm happy about that.
All right,
Thank you.
sounds good, thank you.
Okay.
Chad, is Heath gonna get a notice as well?
Yes, he will too.
I just wanna make sure.
How deep, I mean, how deep do the houses go to get noticed? How, within what
It's not
range?
the entire street. We had a
Okay.
map of
it's only the budding property owners and those that have frontage on the street within a half a mile.
Well, so, Mary Lane, this is gonna affect the neighborhood. So I would go more than less, or can't we do that? Well, they're gonna come, they're gonna
I
talk.
mean, I would say we
Just
could.
wait, before he leaves, say it one more time. Dominique, yeah, and how was I saying it?
Montalban.
Yes, how was I saying it though?
Dominica, Nika, I will tell.
Yeah, cause I've been playing it in my head when you said that, so.
Thank you, guys. You did the right thing here. Let's get it out and get it done one way or the other.
I was there for 18, and Wally Sparks and I were both there, you were there too, and it was painful. It was painful, yes.
I would.
All right,
I mean,
yes. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Yep.
We always retain the chief.
On to, it's not gonna be good with planning. I'll tell you.
Well,
We want to keep it.
So then,
you don't have to take that.
there's a lot of thought on the taxes, because the taxes were only paid on that parcel, not on that whole piece, so.
So
All right,
so
enough of that.
we have to send certified mail.
Yep.
That's pretty expensive.
Yep.
So I would say we only send to who we have
Yep,
to, and if
you're
you'd
right.
like us to,
Yeah,
we can send regular mail to
The neighborhood's gonna
neighborhood,
talk, they'll be here, so it's.
But I wouldn't
yeah.
do the certified
Yeah, I know there, that's all right, that's okay.
beyond who we need to.
This is how it's supposed to work, this is how it's supposed to work.
Can you do regular mail for the other one?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
We could do that if.
Or put a
you'd like.
notice out there, yeah.
Yeah, that way they get it but it's not certified.
Yeah, because certified is pretty.
Why
expensive.
is my computer updating?
What, mine?
You upset about something? Are you upset about something or what? You set me up for something? I mean, I don't need to go there.
On the discussion?
Yeah. Yeah, just let it be. I can play with this, yeah, I'm fine. All right, new business. 39, appointment of Yi Lang Zong to Finance Committee.
Move to approve.
Motion by Zagami.
Second.
Who said it first? Did you?
Nope, I didn't.
Okay, so I think you were second. Ermeling second, on discussion, Yi gave me a call, asked if he wants to get involved again. And the two that I knew on the phone with him was HR and finance. I told him I'd put him down for both. He laughed and said, no, it's one. And I thought finance would be the better one for him, and he agreed. And I didn't talk to Jessica, but I think we have one opening there. So in fact, we might have two. I think another member is not showing up.
So is he, I guess maybe on the question to clarify, was he intended to replace Commissioner Gao or committee member Gao on that?
Are we full? Then we're replacing Gao. I will call Dwayne. I don't believe Dwayne attends.
I think
Was he here tonight?
He's indicated it's difficult for him to make the meeting.
Yes, yeah. I know he wanted planning and not that one, but I told him that's the one we had as a, I don't believe he's attended maybe one or none.
He attended a couple, but since his position.
Yeah, with Corona Water, okay. So I'll call Dwayne and have that handled, and then he will start the 1st of January, or the January first meeting, so, good. Did we vote on that? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay?
Nay. No.
Nay, okay,
No.
so carried.
Thank you.
40, Schofield Avenue intersection studies, phase 1 intersection control evaluation, ICE. Results and phase 2 recommendations.
I guess the big thing is that after looking at Mesker and Ryan Street with Schofield Ave, the second step is then working on getting estimates and kind of a conceptual estimate. The recommendations from the kind of traffic count study was that traffic signals weren't warranted, so they would be looking at kind of an upgraded two-way stop as the intersections currently are, but maybe adding some extra turn lanes for turning movements. And then they would also look at a roundabout alternative at both intersections.
Are we talking still Ryan and Mesker?
Ryan and Mesker are the two. If we wanted them to still look at a traffic signal, just so we kind of know what a estimate would be, we could do that. It's not out of the question. It's just if we ever were to, submit one of these projects for DOT funding, we wouldn't get any funding for a traffic signal because they wouldn't be warranted based on the DOT process.
Michael, did they realize the problem in Debbie's Crossing?
They did.
Coming from south side and going to the west?
And they note that in there, that's where they would look at reconfiguring some of the sight lines.
Yeah,
but as far as the how do I put it? Like Mesker was close, if you go through the document, but it wasn't quite there to trigger the consecutive hours. So there's maybe a peak hour where it's tough crossing, but in the DOT world for the signal warrant, it doesn't meet you need 4 consecutive hours where that would be a tough crossing, and that didn't show there.
There's no assistance in any kind of lighting controls, but the big assistance is gonna be roundabouts, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that would make it so you would
should
have
we,
that.
I mean, so we're looking at those 2 intersections, but I mean, isn't there a huge pain point just at Camp Phillips and Schofield? I mean, if you're coming from the south and you lucky enough to get the green light and you don't realize that you're gonna be launched about 30 feet in the middle there, regardless of what vehicle you have. Wouldn't that look, I mean, that's just a horrible intersection.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna end with the one corner possibly for sale now. I mean, now would be our chance to do something like that. And then the other one would be J. So do J and be done.
Yeah, so both of those would be joint with the county since the county has the
Camp Phillips.
The north-south arterial there, whether it's X or J, so.
Can I make one comment?
Yep, you hate them, I know.
I think the issue between Camp Phillips and the middle school is there's nothing to regulate traffic, and you can't look at just those, because I guarantee you, there's other side streets along there that are having just as hard of a time getting across that traffic.
Right.
We need, even if you do something at one intersection, it doesn't matter, I think it would improve your ability to get across that road, whether it's Mesker or Ryan, just my 2 cents.
Well, Ryan doesn't have the traffic that Mesker is a real stinker. That's a real stinker.
I mean, it's close. The average daily traffic at Ryan is estimated at 2,800, whereas Mesker is just over 3,000. I mean, so it's 150 cars.
Oh, it's hard to believe. I I guess there probably is quite a bit of residents in Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, or it's, you know, business park traffic.
True.
Yeah.
True.
See, I was at that intersection of Mesker, trying to take a right turn. And the guy across the street on Mesker, he's standing there with the trailer. And I had the right of way. By the time I tried to turn, he took off because he had a gap and then in the traffic and he tried to cross. And we almost crashed.
Yeah.
So the problem is the crossing. If they didn't have to cross, we didn't have any problem.
No,
So,
and that's why I asked the, you know, MSA about adding in the traffic signal analysis. That way, that would also be looked at, so we'd have three options to look at if we were wanting to move forward with a project at the intersection, which would be the stop control, the roundabout, and the traffic signals. So our original approval for MSA was to do step 1 and step 2. Right now, step 1 is done, step 2 hasn't started, so we can give them guidance on what we want step 2 to look like. So that's all I'm trying to ask for clarification on, is what do we want step 2 to look like?
okay, did they consider also that side is lower? And it's not perpendicular to that Schofield Avenue? That's also a problem? Is it gotta be corrected?
So some of that they did talk about trying to straighten the intersection up with the, you know, so it is, yeah.
What is the question of 40? What are we doing?
I guess, so the initial recommendation from MSA was to move forward with looking at an improved two-way stop control and a roundabout concept. In previous discussions with Public Works Committee, I know a traffic signal, especially at Mesker, was a point of interest, so we can either go with MSA's recommendation of just the stop control and roundabout, or we can also add in the traffic signal at
Are we
Mesker.
looking at dollars to approve or?
No, it's
just-
not dollars, it's just direction for what.
I say go, and then whatever happens with Mesker, can either safety unit be able to control that as they approach? I mean, I don't wanna, to sit there with a light. Well, no, I guess you would. You're coming through with lights. You got your horn blaring, you're going through. Okay, yep, forget it. Yes.
We have what do I want to say? Under use traffic light by the Y.
Yeah, we're talking
There is
about that.
very little traffic there. I mean, for trying to get on and off. The road is wide enough, it doesn't create, could you move that from there? I mean, I know there's a cost in moving it, but.
I thought we brought that up in the last meeting, yeah.
So, just to clarify, this motion would be to move forward with the intersection study, and after the study would be determined whether or not it'd be a roundabout or a light, correct?
Correct, yeah, the study would just say.
All right, I'd like to move to approve the continued.
Motion by Hardinger,
for that.
second by Feeny on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 41, water utility meter pit construction services contract
Move to approve.
by Zagami. Second by Feeny on the question. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. 42, wells 7 and 8, change order number 3.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami. Second by Hardinger.
There you go, Jay.
I have a question.
On the discussion.
Question.
Go ahead.
Michael, did you talk to him about the heating and all that, what you discussed on the phone?
Yeah.
And he agreed with that?
Correct, yep.
There's no extra payment for the heating and everything else in there?
No, that was part of change order 2.
Okay. I'm done.
So this is change order 3. What was the original number that we approved before we had 3 change orders?
So change order
I'm just
1,
curious.
yeah, change order 1 was the addition of the park shelter. So that was the first one. The second one was last month to go over the winter conditions. And then this one just kind of covers a few things in the generator room. There's some deducts, and then WPS essentially said they're not going to install electric service until an access road would be made for them. So I guess I really don't foresee much,
I guess I'm just asking how much of an increase we're looking at from what we initially approved.
Sure. So the original contract was 3.2, and we're at 3.310.
01.
3.
Yeah, 01, okay.
Yeah.
97.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it is 10.
Yeah, it's 10.
Yeah, I was looking at the top one, you're right. Okay.
Got that 97,600?
I'm good.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 43, discussion of construction options for the village salt shed.
So the original thought was that this was gonna be a traditional timber, treated timber salt shed. We bid this project March of 2021, and that was the time when prices were starting to be affected by market forces at the time. Things were starting to go up in price. Availability of things was getting just starting to hit. So a budget estimate was used of 400,000 on this salt shed. Turned out, I guess the bid at the time was 600,000. The thinking at the time was that it was going to be able to be constructed for a lot, for the closer to the estimated number. Two attempts to rebid have proven that to not be the case.
And those bids were how much?
Near $1 million, over $1 million.
Okay. So
looking at another option for a different type of structure. So I guess before we do that, our zoning code really right now does not permit a fabric type structure to be put up in anything other than an agricultural zoning. So I guess what we are asking the board to do is whether they would be supportive of referring this to Plan Commission to consider changes in the zoning code that would permit this type of thing to be put in.
Yes.
And I guess whether there's any other things they'd want to have the Plan Commission be aware that, you know, they don't want this considered in certain zoning districts with certain parameters maybe that, you know, it's not a principal structure, things of that nature.
Just real quick before trustee Zagami, who is handling this? Who's doing this?
Well, Michael.
You and Michael, but not John, right? Because I think we actually made a statement that we wanted to handle this internally and not go through him.
Well, we need to put a specification together to get a bid.
Yes. Okay. Do we need to have him?
Well, that would be.
Because it's been a fiasco.
He's done the design on.
Yeah, it's been a fiasco. Zagami. Go
Did
ahead.
we talk to any other municipality who has this facility to see how it functions, what's the performance of it? How the material affected based on the temperature and the salt in there?
Deputy Director Raskowski did, it was either Clark County or Taylor County, but one of them is a recent customer of the contractor that we had met with. So I know he's talked to them about their structure. It's a little different. It's open-ended. It's not closed, but I think we probably still want to go with the closed one. Right, wrong, and different. I know CUNY Architects has used this type of building in other communities where, the community has asked for it. They have sheds that have been up for, I believe John has said, 20 plus years. So I think it is it's a viable option.
What is the price on it, something like this?
So when we met with one of the vendors, his ballpark quote was about 250,000, and then we'd still have to pave, provide some, so I figured we'd be under, maybe around 300,000 for the main structure.
Well, that's certainly cheaper than $1 million.
Cronin?
Can you, this is probably just me being picky, but can you do a different color besides tan?
Yeah, I mean, there's white.
Can you do like forest green?
We could look and see what options there are. I know the vendor did say you can even put your logos or things like that on it, so I'm guessing there are other colors.
Okay.
I think they do try to use the lighter color just so the sunlight can come in so you can see.
Well, and so I got to go back on this, that you made a comment that why wouldn't we use him? I thought we had some kind of a discussion, even for the public safety, that we're going to go local and not use him. I mean, these have been fiascos, both of these. Now, has this been great and we've got a nice feeling about him with this? Maybe. But I feel like it hasn't gone well. Public safety was that thing sat there for months and nothing was done. It doesn't matter who's busy and who's not busy. We had an opportunity to have that done in this year, and we didn't do it. And I don't believe it was on us. I believe it was on them.
I think part of the difficulty was getting everybody over there working with the.
Well, whatever the deal is, we're relying on him so much, and now we have so much emotion in with this person. And that's the danger when you work with a vendor this close, is that emotion takes over and it's tainted. And I'm just saying what I feel and what I know in my career and my business. And I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't go in a different direction. We have to use him for all of our building needs or bidding. So
Mr.
I'm gonna
President?
say it again. Nate Feeney.
I move to recommend staff work with planning commission on revisions to the zoning code to allow the fabric type of structures be allowed within the institutional zoning district.
Motion by Feeney,
I'll second.
second by Hardinger on the question. Yep.
What's the lower part of that building? Bring that picture back, please. What is that lower part? Is that concrete?
Yeah, so these ones are kind of like a prefabricated concrete panel.
And they're pulled together.
Otherwise, this style utilizes piers with kind of then an interior, kind of removable concrete panel. And then I think this one even is a kind of like a foundation, a small foundation.
Look like Jersey barrier.
Yeah, so this one has a Jersey barrier with a poured pier foundation. So there's really different foundation types that we can look at. So I guess that'd be a question for planning commission too, is there a preferred foundation type that they would want?
Well, these are kits basically, aren't they?
I like to see these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the planned area that this would go?
Pretty much straight out from the repair bay doors on the east property line with the door facing south.
But these are basically like prefab kits, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there like a manufacturer that's pretty much?
Yeah, so Brightspan is one of the.
Yeah. So I mean, if there's somebody that has the plans for these things and the different models and how they come together and everything else, why do we need an architect?
It's really just the bidding services.
Why do we need services? If they're gonna supply the unit, is that for them?
We have to bid it as a public entity, we have to bid it.
Well, we bid all kinds of things. We don't use them all the time.
But well, I'm just.
But we have somebody else to, yeah.
I guess my point is that if we can basically order this thing and it just needs to be put together, can we just put out a bid for these types of units? And then once we select it, put out a bid for somebody to put it together?
Okay, well, the ask right now is, we've got a motion and a second on the table, and I think
I guess that was just my point. That's just my point. I don't,
I got
Yep.
to make one.
you know, it's like buying a shed from Menards. You don't need an architect for it.
Exactly.
I think no matter what we do, we gotta talk to this manufacturer.
Oh, yeah.
They provide the spec for the construction of it.
I could almost guarantee you they do.
What we gotta find out.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
I understand what
you
you're
know.
saying, but we gotta make sure of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, substantial amount of money we wanna invest.
Why this is
No, I mean,
ag, Jen, is because
I agree with you.
normally with
Normally they're hoop buildings that they use for ag,
Yeah.
animals and feed and stuff.
Yeah, it has to be worded that you can't start putting them in your backyard again, like we
Right.
had.
Yeah, I would have to,
It'd have to be a one-off.
Yeah, this is,
yeah, there's a lot more to do with the zoning code to make sure that it's.
Yeah, because we had issues with those.
the only reason I bring that up is because, I mean, you can get complete structural plans for builds, right from builders with everything that comes with it. Exactly how much concrete you need,
Well, I was
all of
looking
it.
at this one that had like the bottom was concrete. Wouldn't the salt eat that up?
I think the
Probably spray
connection
with
points are on the
chlorine.
outside,
yeah,
like as far as the concrete itself.
Yeah, well, this one here with the,
yeah.
I think along with this discussion, we should be,
Prefabricated.
where are all the salt sheds in proximity of here? And has there been any thought of sharing? Does it have to be does everything have to be on our grounds? I mean, the trucks are here, but, but we're not fueling here anymore. We're fueling other places. So does the salt have to be here? And could this be with a venture with another municipality?
I thought that for a while we did something with the county.
I mean, it's just.
We purchase through the state contract, which the county uses. I mean, the big thing is location. Where, you know, how much time is it gonna take us to go truck to, you know, Rothschild or Cronenwetter, or, you know, so during a snowstorm, we do fill up, you know, 3-4 times during an event. So if we're having our trucks travel an extra half hour, 45 minutes, it's an extra half hour, 45
But
minutes.
is this municipal center, dead center of our area?
No, the other one was.
It's close.
It can't be. I mean, what about Evereston? I mean, I don't know. Do you look at the whole community and then put it down there and is that the circle? I don't know. So I just, there's other things that we should be looking at because this is gonna eat up a lot of room in the back.
No, I think that's a valid point. I mean, part of what the planning commission could review is where the other salt sheds are in the area and how feasible it would be for us to try to share them. So that when we come to the public and this goes to bid, we can say, well, we've at least considered other options.
Okay, all right. So, motion to approve?
Yeah, we have.
Recommend to staff.
Recommend it, I'm sorry. Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Jen, can we, if we talk about that at planning commission, can we make that a conditional use in the INT?
Yeah.
So anytime someone wants to put one up, they
I have
have
to
to talk
do
to us.
some research to see how other communities handle it, but yeah, we can always, we have to come up with performance standards
Okay,
for them, and then, yeah, you can always determine which districts you want it to be permitted or conditional. Discussion the plan commission will have, and then the board will have to approve.
I can see an RV in one. Same. All right, 44 surveillance system project. This is for the park. Are we talking? Okay. I know that initially we had some discussions with the police department. Wasn't that gonna be handled by the police department or not? No, Nate?
I've kind of taken the reins on this one.
Yep.
Took some time to get responses, some proposals back. It's kind of a large ask, I guess, the vendors, so that took a little time. But I'll try to make this short. Talking Clay today, he and I kind of agreed that they're looking at something called
Flock
that Wausau and the county are looking at, which are little pretty small cameras that go in intersections and can get.
Essentially, they're license plate readers. You can put in codes for, if you're looking for a white car, there's still shots is how they work. And then it goes against a database with stolen vehicles or alerts to vehicles when they're coming in or out of your community. And essentially the whole purpose of the camera is to identify the owner. And this specifically focuses on reading the license plate. And they're a continual cost, but they're fairly reasonable, and having them under the same platform in the county is something that we were interested in.
I think that's a very good idea. Is this the system that, that it's an automated reading system that if you're going across country, it can grab your license plate?
Yep, so if there's a stolen vehicle that's coming in, we can alert automatically to our car. If, we can set it up in parks for hours, if there's somebody that goes in, like Mockmiller is very rural, it could send an alert that it had an activation. So we talked about it, I don't want to take your thunder, Nate, but we talked about combined with this proposal. I think the Kennedy Park, the skate park is all needed an upgrade, and then maybe like the traffic cam in some of the parks, we can look at some of the flock camera systems and maybe provide more information to the board next month.
I like it.
Yeah, so.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, so part of what I had as a recommendation was to do the Camp Phillips and Schofield intersection and the Kennedy Park area. At this point, after our discussion, our thought was to go forward with Kennedy Park, Aquatic Center, and Skate Park upgrade. The rest, we'll do a wait and see. We're gonna look at the flock option and see how all those work and maybe use those in the parks.
Could this be?
We talked about trail cams that have had success. We could save a lot of money by just maybe trying some trail cams out and see if those work as well. So I think the thought process tonight was kind of move forward with Kennedy Park with Camel Corner connecting point. And we continue to have dialogue with you guys on the rest of the locations.
Who's going to monitor and run this system?
But is it a monitor or is it does it catch? and then alert.
It's an
Is it
alert.
more of an alert versus monitor? 'Cause that's my question.
Yeah.
If it's monitoring, if you don't monitor it, then you're.
No, it's not a live,
Alert
it's
system.
not a live, it's not a live camera recording
Okay.
system. It takes pictures, it's similar to a game camera.
Okay.
So it does have alerts. I actually have training because I signed an MOU today. We will have access to all the county cameras. And all Wausau's getting like 20 of them. Actually have access to all of them in the state. And there's a training program, but yeah, you can enter in details, but the alerts are automatic. But you gotta enter in some parameters. It's not a monitoring thing. It alerts you
So-
to whatever parameters are.
You know, some of the discussion on some of the drug traffic, coming from a different area and setting up shops somewhere. I just want to leave it in general terms. You could have those in certain spots, maybe coming off of highway access, and you could get those alerts, correct?
If there's a plate that we're looking for.
Yep.
Or even if we have a vague description of a vehicle, or if the vehicle is known to have no plates.
Yep.
So.
So the ask is,
I just want to comment, the Kennedy Park one that's more surveillance, classic surveillance. The flock one is the alert.
I just think we should be working.
Yeah, and we are, yep.
Okay, all right.
So, your recommendation to, work with camera corner connecting point, not to exceed $81,000?
I would change that to, I think it was 33, which would,
Well, okay.
Seriously, from 81 to 33?
because we're not looking at any of those other ones right now.
That's huge.
We're just looking at, those are.
Good job.
They took
To
off.
give you an idea, the flock is $2,500 per year per camera. So part of the issue, obviously, and I don't know if you had time to talk with Jessica, is there's an ongoing cost. We can use ARPA funds for 1 year, but we can start out small and maybe integrate them either in the village or the city, or both.
Can we buy these together with the county and the city? I mean,
They're buying a lot of them with ARPA funds.
okay,
Like Green Bay just upped, I think they have 60 of them.
okay.
So I'm sorry, one more time the amount?
33,000 is what I calculated out, which included the aquatic center, skate park, and the upgrade to the new management system, and labor was 33.
What's the timeline?
I'd get back to them right away, and we're probably in that little dilemma of some of the materials maybe taking a little time to get going.
They didn't
But I
give
already
us,
informed them that we wanted to have it up and running by spring.
okay,
So
and what did they say?
he said, we'll see when we can get the equipment. So as soon as we go through and I place the order, they'll have an idea of how long it'll take.
You didn't give me an idea if it takes 3, 4, 5 months?
It all depends on each system, each piece that goes into it. Like what we're waiting for on now is display board and a controller. Everything else is in.
Okay. So I'd like to move to recommend up to 35,000 with camera corner connecting point.
And we don't have to say how we're using the funds, ARPA.
From ARPA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Motion by Hardinger, a second by Feeny, to up to $35,000 using ARPA funds. Any more on the discussion?
A quick question for Director Crowe. Out of curiosity, why were none of the new era cameras listed in the total?
They were in their proposal, right?
I don't recall.
Well, I think you have to choose one or the other, is that it?
Yeah, we're choosing one,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
New Era is just another company that we work with.
Just curious.
But currently you're using camera corner for
Right.
this stuff, right? Yeah, okay. That's relatively a new vendor for you,
New Era, connected camera corner.
camera corners.
Relatively, they're the ones that came in to kind of fix the issues we had with the pool, that first vendor.
Oh, yeah, that's right, okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 2022 budget amendments.
Move to approve the proposed 2022 budget amendments.
Second, by Hardinger, second by, a motion by Hardinger and a second by Zagami. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 23 budget amendments.
Move to approve the proposed 2023 budget amendments.
Second. Motion by Hardinger, second by Cronin. Any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 47, First Amendment to easement and easement termination agreement. Let me just read that again. First Amendment to easement and easement termination agreement. 8706 Progress Way.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Feeny,
Second.
second by Zagami. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 48 Aquatic Center roof replacement.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling, second by Zagami.
I have a question.
A question by.
What are we approving?
We're approving the center.
There's three options though.
The Aquatic Center roof replacement.
So the recommendation from Park and Rec Committee was to approve the stat block standing seam roof. We originally had a quote for a 24 gauge roof. The second sheet that I sent you an updated one of 26 gauge, which reduced the price by almost around $10,000 from what the original one. So the original one was, nearly 70,000, and then by switching to 26 gauge, dropped down to just over 58.
That's the one.
So 26 is what we're going for.
Okay.
So the lighter gauge has some advantages also, because you can get it textured coating, so it makes it safer if you need to access the roof compared to the 24 gauge.
Okay.
It doesn't do oil canning or anything?
Well, they all oil can.
Yeah, what different gauge that behave different?
Yeah, and if you read the letter from the contractor, based on what he's hearing from the manufacturer, it shouldn't really be that much difference between 24 and 26 because it's minimal. The thickness, obviously, not much of a change. And I mean, the underlayment obviously should help, but because it is a fixed solid roof versus putting steel roof on purlin, where the movement doesn't transfer quite as bad. You have the room to it. You're going to get some oil canning regardless of what gauge you put on it. Based on what he stated in his letter, that it shouldn't be any difference between the 24 gauge and 26 gauge.
So what the recommendation, so that we know what we said?
So the recommendation is based on if you want to do stat block and if you want to do the 24 or 26 gauge.
Right, I mean, in the motion that it would be.
Yeah, 26 is
right.
What? Yep, okay. Okay, just refresh me who made the motion and who seconded?
I think Barb Ermeling made
Barb and Zagami?
Zagami,
Okay,
yeah.
yep. And 26 is what we're getting?
Right, the 26 gauge.
Okay, any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Attorney referrals, anyone like to refer something to the attorney? None? Staff referrals? Chief, anything? No, Michael? Jennifer? Nate? No, Jessica? Keith? Not all at once.
Just whether you want us, if there's something you want us to look into it, do it as well.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Ron, no? Pam?
No.
Nope, okay. Let's start with, Cronin.
I do have one comment. I had some equipment stolen from me and the Everest Metro Police Department was fantastic in helping me recover that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Trustee Cronin. Trustee Ermeling, who's in a very festive top tonight. I got a little green on, but not much. Anyway.
Well, everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Okay, thank you. If we're gonna put the salt shed back here and share with somebody else, I don't think it should be here. Because those trucks gonna come and go and pound over this area. It should go some other place, maybe in Ryan, or on those municipalities they wanna share with us, not in this one. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
I also have a remark, please. I would also like it noted that I am voting nay on Zong being on the finance committee as well.
You did vote nay? Okay,
Yeah, I don't know if anybody heard, but
okay. So noted.
thank you.
Any more remarks? No? Okay. Trustee Feeney.
Very Merry Christmas and very happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Yep. Trustee Hardinger.
I'd like to thank the staff again for all the work you guys have done and all the time that you've taken with me so far since I've been here this year. And just, I'm really very happy to be here. So, and I really appreciate working with everybody and all the work that you've done and everything that I've asked of you as well. So, just really happy to be here and Merry Christmas.
Good, thank you. And felt like everybody else has said too, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, safe Happy New Year. You know, I don't know, we don't have an ETA on this yet. I think this is just a marvelous building. I had a lot of critiques and a lot of comments during the whole process. But boy, it's really something. And I like what we've been doing with the trees, cutting up the 8 foot there, and you can see through there a little bit. I think just for the security and everything, it's gonna last a long time. I tell everyone it's 82% of it's a big garage, and it's all inside and. You know, I'm getting a lot of comments from other municipal leaders too, that holy mackerel. So, but I'll tell you, I've got a feeling about this area. I think a lot of you share it. But some of the structures going up, some of this, you know, this Everest $35.9 million build is gonna be a catalyst and for the entire area, not just Weston. I'm getting a lot of questions or a lot of comments on the signs. I know there's some stuff we have to still do with the bottoms and stuff, but there are a lot of signs out there, all by tourist dollars, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, so great job, everybody. See you next year. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
Second by Ermeling and Feeny, and we are, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Carried, 7:46. Thank you, everybody.
3-0 Packers.